Trump is more of a business pro than politician. Wants to look like the Superman right now to his people. Look what I have done, which Biden or the previous presidents couldn't achieve.
I am somehow one of the people who like Trump.
I'm sorry, guilty.
All the economists, including Republican economists, they are saying that what he is doing right now is a disaster for the economy. And if it's a disaster for the American economy, unfortunately, that is going to affect the rest of the world.
The whole world.
Now,
Also,
if you dive into it further to really truly understand what happens when a tariff is implemented, is the United States prepared? Like if it was that easy to switch it, and let's say in 3 years now automatically the automotives could be purchased in the US, fantastic.
Two scenarios.
Okay.
Whatever Trump's trying to do,
It's gonna work.
It will work.
Okay.
And it will affect the world in a way, or it will not work and it will affect the world. How do you think, guys, this will affect this region? Don't worry, the world is still okay. I know a lot of things are happening. We're trying to understand what Trump is trying to do. Of course, that's not a usual checked episode. That's an unusual checked episode. We're gonna talk about what's going on in the world, specifically with what Trump is trying to do, because we have American citizens here. They will try to explain to us. Maybe we'll understand. But we believe that everything is still okay. After a dip, there is always a high. So let's see if it's going to be bad as we think or it's going to be good. Today, I have with me Gigi and Ahmed. They are agents from the US, currently operating here and selling the UAE as a destination, specifically Dubai. And I have Fakhr with me. Fakhr, welcome back. You already have seen Fakhr in other episodes, so he's going to be hosting this episode with me. And let's try to know more about our guests. Ahmed, let's start with Ahmed because Gigi, she's a little bit known. She's everywhere. You know what I mean? Ahmed.
Billboards. The billboard queen.
Thank you, Billboard Queen. Thank you.
Well, Waleed, I've been here in Dubai for the last 25 years now. I moved to Dubai when I was 30 years old. Came as a hotelier, but I figured out that I moved in at the perfect timing when real estate had just started, and it was EMOR. And I just decided to change careers overnight. And yes, I've been doing real estate ever since. So the highs, so the lows, and we're still at it.
You know, you're a rare breed because there is a few real estate veterans in Dubai. And when we meet one, we hold on them, you know.
You dissect them.
Because majority of agents are, if they're more than 3 years, they're like, oh, that's a long time in real estate. But to meet someone like 10 years, 15 years more, like 20 years.
Pre-COVID.
Yes.
Yeah,
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, yeah. I know, right?
Yeah, indeed.
So we have not only a pre-COVID, but like a veteran, like even like years and years. And we have Gigi. Gigi, she's a broker from the US. Please carry on and introducing yourself.
So I am also licensed in California, and I'm a certified international property specialist, which is the only internationally recognized designation by the National Association of Realtors.
Wow.
And I have a base in San Diego, California, where I've been a lifelong resident.
Cool.
I was born in Detroit, where most Middle Eastern people are born in the United States, and because my parents are Middle Eastern. And but raised in San Diego, attended UCSD, had no desire to get into real estate whatsoever until 2.5 years ago when I came to Dubai for the first time. And I have an office. I'm setting up offices on the Costa del Sol in Spain and here in Dubai with Ahmed.
So that's why now I understand in your bio there is UAE, USA, and Spain.
Spain.
You speak Spanish?
Un poquito, porque mi esposo es mexicano. He's Mexican origin, so I need to know when my in-laws talk smack about me, so I learned it really quickly so I can understand and say, entiendo, I know what you're saying.
I understand you.
Actually, that's both of us. We're both married to Mexicans.
Oh, you
Really?
too?
Oh, nice.
Isn't it the warmest culture?
Sleeping with the enemy.
I'm in the Middle East, I'm not going to comment on that.
I would say
Thank God your husband's a Mexican man.
Very shameful. Very shameful.
I would
know-
say they're very close to the Middle Eastern culture.
They are.
Yeah.
They're family
They're
oriented.
very extremely
Absolutely.
family oriented, very hardworking people, extremely humble, down to earth people, and I think that's the closest thing we were able to get to Middle Easterns, I guess.
Yeah, when I met a lot of I met a lot of Latinos in Dubai. Dubai from Colombia, Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of
Okay.
them here. There is Colombians. There's a huge community of
I
Colombians in
didn't
the
know
UAE.
that.
there is actually.
From a long time, by the way.
Okay.
We're talking 10 years ago. They start like heavily
Okay.
coming, and I noticed that they are very warm. They're into food and family,
Yeah.
and they laugh and they talk sometimes loud like
Loud,
us. And,
absolutely.
We relate to them. It's very
It's
strange.
warm-blooded.
Yeah, we do.
We're
It's
warm-blooded.
warm. Yeah, warm people.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that Ahmed and I have known each other for 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ended up not seeing each other.
And then
First.
you met again.
26
And then
years.
we reconnected here, and then we're both married to Mexican, and we both have children.
Amazing.
And it's just funny how things work out.
I mean, God's plan is interesting. In a way.
100%. What do they say, maktub, right?
Yeah,
Maktub,
It's
yeah,
just,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Okay, so the real estate scene in the US and the real estate scene here, just to touch on real estate before we jump into Trump because it's a heavy subject. I mean, as people, I believe also you did real estate. You lived in the UAE. Maybe you didn't do real estate, but you had idea. You understood from hospitality is almost
Yes,
similar. Yeah,
of course.
And Gigi, you literally did real estate in the US till 2 years ago. you
Until 2.5
came-
years ago. Yeah.
So, what are the differences, the challenges? How do you judge this market in real estate versus the USA market?
It's very different. The way you do business is very different. The cynicism of the buyer is very different. The rules and regulations are very different. So it is, and that's the reason why having that certification that I secured of additional education to really understand. Like the thing is, you have now so many agents all of a sudden hopping on board saying that they're selling to the Americans, right?
Yeah.
But you know, Ahmed and I will say this has been a process and an investment and a sacrifice of my life. I personally have completely shifted gears. I own a public relation firm for 17 years where I help global brands reach their end user through media. So my job has always been to secure media attention.
I need her.
Yeah,
You do need her.
that's what I do.
You'll
That's
be
what I've been
shocked.
doing.
I'll tell you what I'm planning on. But
Oh,
anyways,
we'll
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about it. But even media is different here, by the way. There's a lot of pay for play here in the United States. It's based on relationships because it's earned media.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's very different. In the United States, real estate is based on relationships. You have to be licensed. You have rules you have to apply to.
follow, yeah.
You cannot undercut another real estate agent. You cannot offer kickbacks. You cannot downgrade another agent. You will lose your license if you do that. You come here. I know the DLD has so many regulations for the investor. So the investor is protected.
Yeah.
But amongst real estate agents, it's not as clean here as it is in the US.
Yeah. But things, because UAE or Dubai is a young city, I feel like they start learning from the
Of course,
the market.
Waleed, you need to keep in mind we're only a 24-year-old industry here in Dubai, and we have a very long way to evolve. Where US is or Europe is, we're way far away. They've been in the industry for decades. Real estate has been there for decades. And remember one thing, that the reason I always felt that Dubai is doing so well is because we're learning from their mistakes. So I should say, where they're screwing up, we try to avoid those screw ups. So we're still evolving, and US market is very systematic, okay? Unlike Dubai. Dubai is not systematic yet because the banks are not heavily involved.
Yeah.
US is a mortgage society. Everything is mortgaged. Everything is financed. Dubai is cash. Everybody's all about cash. We're more used to using cash, you know? So banks have not come in and played a big role like they have been for centuries in the US. And maybe that's also another factor why our market has been safe, because it's not controlled by the banks like it controls the US market.
True.
So yes, it is. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to structure, regulations, as Gigi was saying. We have a long way to go, to be very honest with you.
However, I just want to add though, for the investor, we are very much, for example, I sell in Spain as well. There are no regulations in Spain.
Wow.
Investors are not really protected in Spain. You have to hire a lawyer. You cannot purchase real
didn't know
estate in
that.
Spain without hiring a lawyer.
Wow.
You have to. Okay, they call them habitation, or they're anti-squatter laws. It's very controversial. If you don't get them in the first certain hours, if a squatter comes in, it takes you years to kick them out of your rental property. They don't allow you to do Airbnb in many cities. In fact, yesterday, where I'm from on the Costa del Sol, there were protests that were saying we don't want even foreign land owners here. We don't want to make it okay. Where Dubai is very similar to the United States is that it's regulated for the investor. And that's what was appealing to me. Investors protected. It's very transparent. The DLD has the RERA, the Real Estate Regulatory Agency, overseeing all real estate transactions.
Everything, yeah, they oversee everything.
So that's what makes investors, especially from the United States, now feel more comfortable and safe that their investment is protected and everything's digitized. They don't have to get on a plane to come out here and handle it. They just have to find someone who understands the American pain points and mentality.
Yeah. So to sum up the answer, so regulations vis-a-vis the agents are different versus Dubai versus the UAE, or UAE versus USA. And USA is more of a secondary market mortgage.
It's about a mortgage, yeah. It's about
Correct.
mortgage.
And the UAE is more investment and
Cash flow.
off-plan, cash flow kind of investment. Makes total sense. We are lately noticing that there is a huge influx of clients, or not even clients, like people from the US.
And there's a lot of shifts that's happening.
Trying
Like
to live here.
Yeah.
In my circle, for the last 8 months, I have 3 people from the US that I knew. We have Nils, we have Baha, like 4
There's a lot of
people,
people, yeah.
And now you. So why do you think this is happening?
What's going on, man? Like, what's happening?
First of all, I have to be careful how I answer a lot of your questions, because America is now checking our social media channels as we enter back in.
Put the cuts on. Because after this
Sorry.
podcast, I don't think they'll allow us to enter the US.
So we need to be careful. Yes, we have seen record number
Yes.
of exit strategy, and
my
actually
God.
there are stats showing that the search and the Google search of Americans and Canadians, but we'll focus on Americans today, wanting to leave, to move, and to at least get a golden visa as a backup plan, which right now I believe Dubai has the most popular and most searched golden visa program in the world, and we're seeing in the United States. Why? Well, I'm going to say safety first and foremost. I'm going to say that's something I hear all the time. I'm sure you see every time you, unfortunately, and I don't say this happily, because I have one daughter who lives in Manhattan, New York. I have another daughter who's in college in Chicago. These are 2 of some of the unsafest cities in the world. I'm talking about more unsafe than Baghdad or Tijuana, where we literally.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah, you can easily get stabbed, bro. Like,
My daughter Daniela, and where she goes to college, a very nice, private, beautiful college, she cannot make a left when she walks out her door. The school says, do not make a left and walk down this street. Do not walk down this street. You know, Alexis that lives in Manhattan, the same thing, public transportation. God forbid. So safety, and so now there's people want to raise their children in a safe environment. Then there's the harmony of diversity, right? Unfortunately, there is a lot of racism that exists in the United States, even though it's supposed to be the land of the free for anybody to come and be able to have equal opportunity. That's a lie. So what we used to say was the American dream was based on home ownership. The economy has really hurt people, where that idea of having home ownership in the United States has been more challenging.
It's become a privilege, not a right,
Correct.
actually.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
not easy.
accessibility, it's difficult. So to make money, safety, racism, opportunity. But where is that now? We see a shift to what we call the Dubai dream.
Exactly. People are starting to look for plan B, to be very honest with you. I mean, I moved here when I was 30 years old, and this was exactly somewhere a year after 9/11.
This guy looks so young, bro.
I know, right?
So imagine,
Good genes, bro.
I moved after 9/11, so imagine how tough things were for me. I mean, I always tell Gigi about it. It was the first time I actually felt like I'm a Middle Eastern in the U.S. I was actually asked to change my name from Ahmed to Alex, put a different name tag set.
That's how I knew him. I knew him as Alex when I came here. We worked together. He's like, Ahmed. I was, who's Ahmed? Ahmed.
It's because of
Because-
9/11, I believe. right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that people would simply attack me because I was working in a hotel. I was working for Grand Hyatt. I've been working for the hotel industry since I was 17 years old. So they thought it was not appropriate for guests to meet a Middle Eastern. So they thought that they might get confrontations
Yeah.
or get aggressive. So they said it's for your own safety. It would be wise to change your name. So imagine me moving to Dubai 24 years ago when we didn't have any of the glitter and glamour that we have today. And that's what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
And things were not that bad in the US at that time. Things were still good. Imagine now with what's been happening in the US, fast forward 25 years later, majority of the Middle Eastern community, the Pakistanis, the Indians, everyone is looking for plan B exit. That if, excuse me for saying this, if it hits the fan, where do we go from here? I made that decision 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to visit my mother and see how it goes. And guess what? When I came here, I was like, you know what? I could get used to this. And I stayed behind. So imagine now those people in America who come visit Dubai and they're like, wow, this is Dubai? They tell us that people still live in the desert. They're riding camels because
They live in
that's
tents,
how
yeah,
Women
yeah.
can't drive. Women have to be
Exactly.
covered
Women
up.
That's
have
what
no
Hollywood
drives.
did.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So people are now, especially, we're talking about our clients right now. The last 1 year, we're getting to see more and more people who are like, no, I'm not looking for investment purposes. I'm actually thinking about shifting my family within the
Yeah.
next 3 years because
Relocating, yeah.
Exactly, because I'm not feeling safe for my children over there. I'm not comfortable with all the school shootings that are taking place. My wife her blood pressure is shooting up every morning when she's dropping off the children to school.
It's very scary, yeah.
So
And now
so
their
times-
money also are not safe.
and Waleed, the worst part is the whole illusion, because I grew up under the same illusion of the freedom of speech. It has always been an illusion, you know. Yeah, you have that freedom of speech
If
with
you're
all-
if you're a certain color, certain nationality.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now they literally, I mean, for someone to use the term freedom of speech to walk up to your face and say, "Go back to where you where you came from," tells you that this is what freedom of speech is used for these matters. You know, not something that really matters. So, at my age, for example, imagine me at 53 and moving back to the US. You think I would tolerate such attitude? So that's what's happening with the older generation in the US. They will not stand for this.
Yeah.
They're just fed up, basically.
They're fed up.
They're just
so
fed up.
now, what better place to live than Dubai? I mean, Gigi said it very well. First and foremost is safety. Everybody's trying to see where's the safest haven, especially if you're family oriented. If you
Yeah.
have children, it's not about you anymore. It's all about your
the
kids.
the next generation, your offspring, what's gonna
Exactly.
hand out
That's all
happen to
you
them
think
after
about.
30 years?
That's
yeah.
who you plan for. That's who you save for. You just forget about yourself.
You know, it's very sad what's happening in the U.S. For us, people who grew up outside of the U.S.
See the bigger picture, basically.
we love what the U.S. did. We love
With
the
regards
culture.
to what?
To Iraq?
In terms of
Tell me.
movies.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that.
No, it's really funny. Like
By the
how
way, I'm Iraqi. Just so
Really?
you know, I'm half Iraqi. I'm half Palestinian. So
No, it's really
Both
funny.
ways.
Like, it's really funny what he said, like how everything is actually relative. So like he said, like in 2001, 2002, like things were actually better than right now.
Yeah.
Even though like that time it was under Bush administration and people thought like that was time.
Exactly.
Like,
But
excuse
it's
my
getting
French.
worse.
But
Yeah.
yeah, right now it's like even much worse right now. Yeah. It's really
But what I wanted to
go.
say, like us, if we see like we like Hollywood, the music, you know, the U.S. contributed in
the glamour
culture
basically.
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, and then you see what's going. Like, I feel like it's an end of an era. You can see that's in decline, and deep down, like we want all the countries to flourish and be good. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening. But let's say,
But Trump is saying he's making America great again.
that's
Wait.
what I want to ask. This decline, because it's happening. The U.S. citizens they decided to vote for
Yeah, he
Trump
won.
because
Yeah.
he gave them hope, and a lot of people they were happy. I met a lot of Americans. They felt like hope when he won.
Yeah.
Well, you're not sitting with two of them.
Oh, you were
FYI.
against it from
Yeah,
the beginning.
no.
Of course. We
Yeah,
Anyways,
no. Yeah.
all right. Because I am somehow one of the people who like Trump. I'm sorry, guilty.
The entire UAE has some sort of affinity for
There
him.
is something about
It's
the
so
way-
confusing
his smile.
to me.
Because maybe he's a Republican or something. Yeah. Anyways, do you think that he will?
This could be like a whole other topic right
Yeah.
now. He's a Republican. So what does that mean? That he has higher values? Let's dive into that. The lawsuits for... Okay,
No,
but
let's talk like economically specifically.
Okay.
Bernie
So-
Sanders?
Yeah.
Any takers?
Oh, you are
I
because
like
you're a
him.
communist.
I like Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders.
Joe Stein, too.
Yeah.
But let's say because we all know that the elephant in the room, this tariffs.
The
that's-
elephant
yeah,
also.
yeah.
That's a
he
Republicans.
he applied this policy of tariffs, which we both know. Like the last time that you guys used it in the U.S. was 100 years ago.
60 years ago.
60
years
years ago.
1930.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Tariff
And-
King or something.
Which
Some-
caused a Great Depression, by the way, for 10 years.
But some people in the U.S., Americans, they say that's a good strategy. Some others, they say it's not. What do you think,
Yeah,
guys?
but Waleed, when you say some Americans think it's a good strategy, trust me, these Americans that you're referring to, first of all, they have no idea what tariff is. They're just going along. These are the people who get all excited, and because they voted for Trump, they just want to say yes to everything that he wants to do. Okay, so when Gigi says that we are not big fans of Trump, I agree with her.
I feel
I'm
like you
not
liked him a little bit more before.
I only like, you know what I like about him? That at the end of the day, I feel Trump is more of a business pro than politician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a leader who wants to look after his people and his country.
Agree.
Okay?
Agree,
Do you
of course.
or not?
Absolutely.
I agree
agree.
100%.
Of course.
But there's a way to do that. You do not step on the rest of the nation in order to make yourself and your people superior. Okay?
Yeah.
That's one part. With Trump, I feel everything is more likely about his ego than actually doing something that's great for America. Okay? I personally, so far, what we have seen,
We're
It's-
never going back to the U.S. That's it. That was a line. You just got us off.
I'm going to Europe this year. I canceled my U.S.
Yeah,
vacation,
good.
by the
No,
way.
nothing will happen to you guys.
So,
No, what do you mean? They're checking the social media accounts
Yeah,
when
but
you
you're coming
enter.
from the UAE. They said this guy have some money. Let them in.
That's right. Oh, we can buy the Trump gold card for $5 million.
Done.
so
We don't need it. I'm just kidding. We're citizens.
Trump right now, like as we were saying outside earlier, Trump wants to look like the Superman right now to his people. That
Yeah.
look what I have done, which Biden or the previous presidents couldn't achieve.
Yeah.
Whether it will happen or not, nobody knows. Okay, but for right now, he's loving the love that he's getting from his voter, where they've come to a point where they're saying, whatever he says, we're ready for it, even if it hurts us. I mean, look at the stock market.
Yeah, but why you think? Okay,
It's been plunging.
But maybe if you do some changes on economy,
You really like
you will
him.
have a
You
drop,
like
and then
him.
things maybe will,
I will tell
economically
you-
speaking.
sometimes
I
it
got your
happens,
question.
yeah.
I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. He started off, first of all, by getting rid of the immigrants. Okay? And that's not just a problem in the US. We're starting to see a domino effect with a lot of countries in Europe as well, where it's starting to get to a point where everyone feels like only they deserve and belong in their country. Anyone who's different should go back to where they belong, the countries they come from. We're seeing it in Canada.
Okay.
That's why the Indians are feeling a lot of heat from the Canadians, where they're literally not renewing their student visas, they're not renewing
Their
their
work visa.
employment
Yeah, yeah,
visas.
yeah.
They're not allowed to own property or buy
they're
property.
not exactly, and now they're not even issuing visit visas. Okay, that's one. UK is facing the same thing. You saw the riots that took place in UK a few months ago.
Yes.
And what was the chanting going on? Go back, for example, all you Muslims, go back to your countries. You know, we are losing our culture. That's the biggest issue the Brits had. That because of them, we're losing our identity.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough.
So US got very excited when Trump came and said, I'm going to implement the same thing. I'm going to get rid of the illegal
Immigrants.
first of all. And that's where it always starts from. Okay, if he's going to get rid of the illegal immigrants, he's going to change a lot of other things for the other immigrants as well.
But the
That's-
US is different. The US is built on immigrants.
yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
how
isn't
we
his
feel.
wife an immigrant? I thought
Yeah,
his wife
that's-
was an
Yeah,
immigrant.
That's how-
Melania.
That's how we feel.
Yeah.
But then how is it that anyone could get up to me, for example, I'm a U.S. citizen. I grew up over there, and tell me to go back to my country.
You think
because I'm
you
not
think
white.
this will come on? Ahmed,
What do
do
you
you think
mean?
one day this will happen?
What do you
It's-
mean?
what
It's
do you-
happening
one
all the
day-
It is
time.
actually happening.
It's been
bro.
happening since I left
Are
the
you
U.S. We're
kidding
talking
me?
about 25 years ago.
No,
Why
but
do you think
now
it's
it's even
You're
in the
telling
open.
me there is Americans?
Of course.
They've been they
With citizenship?
took their citizenship from
you
them.
get your citizenship revoked, and after that, like they kick you out.
No. This is not what we're talking
No.
about right
Oh,
now. We're
yeah.
talking
Okay.
He's
about
talking about the people, the American people under this, unfortunately, somebody that has that type of mentality feel empowered to be able to talk to you that way. You're
Yeah.
talking about social.
Ah, okay.
You're
Social.
talking like you socially you
But
are
yes,
expelled.
Exactly.
He is
Yeah.
also record number of expelling. Like right now, UCSD, which is where I graduated from. He just, I just saw on the news. I think 15 people had their visas revoked.
Oh, yeah,
And students.
yeah.
He's now asking for people that were protesting in the pro-Palestinian protests, which we won't get into that. But he's asking for their nationality, country of origin, and you know.
And they say like
San-
it's connection.
Ruben.
You have connection with pro-Palestinian or something like this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
So
even if you have a green card, you
but,
do.
but let's go back just to the economic question.
Yeah,
a
I
little
would
bit.
like- because we
actually
went a
wanna
lot of
touch upon this
social, yeah.
because the first time around when Trump ran, the first time,
Yeah.
he was surrounded by government people that were advising him to the point where he would accept advice. And then you see who he's surrounding himself by right now. They're not government experts. They're tech experts or this expert, but they're not economists. If you just right now do a little Google research to all the economists, including Republican economists, they are saying that what he is doing right now is a disaster for the economy. And if it's a disaster for the American economy, unfortunately, that is going to affect the rest of the world.
The whole world.
Yes, you're right. What goes down comes back up. In the meantime, how many people are suffering that were already suffering and barely making it?
How much can we
And
go?
now, how much more can you
Yeah.
suffer? And then, okay, to the point, well, making America great again means bringing manufacturing back to the
Yeah,
United
that's
States.
what he wants.
Okay, so let's look into that. Is the
Yeah.
infrastructure there to bring manufacturing back? Is it set up? How long would it even take to make that happen? It would take over a decade if it was really truly, if that was the purpose. But what people don't even understand is who pays for the tariffs. You and I were talking about outside.
But
Oh,
before you explain
yes.
this, just let's the way what we're talking about is that the U.S. is making export and import. Like if someone want to sell something outside of the U.S. to the U.S., there is a tariff that is he's adding, right? So, for example, if especially in automotive, if you are in the automotive business and you wanna buy something from outside and you're an American citizen,
We need to pay
you
tariffs.
you will pay a tariff, extra tariff.
It's
So.
like 5% VAT.
But who
Yeah.
will pay the extra tariff?
But before talking about who will pay that, so what's Trump is trying to do is instead of buying from the outside world, you will buy from someone in the U.S. and this is how manufacturing will happen in the U.S. This is his plan. Now you're saying that
Yeah, well, the infrastructure is like he's trying
It
to.
would take
some states, like in
years
Texas, for
and
example,
years.
that's
he's
why
trying
there
to
will
put the
be a dip.
infrastructure
Then
there,
there,
right?
but if I'm talking if I was a U.S. citizen, I was like, that might work after a few years.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah.
Because I'm not a U.S. citizen, I'm from an external world. Like I don't like that, but I have to be. I have to be neutral. I have to see it
Great.
from a.
So I'm a
Let
US
me,
citizen.
Let me finish my
Okay,
question.
okay.
My question is,
Okay.
the tariff that you said, who is paying the tariff? If someone from the U.S. instead of buying from the outside world, he decides to buy from the U.S. It's true he's paying more, but he's contributing into the manufacturing in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what
So it
China's
will
doing, for
create-
example?
yeah, it's like China.
Isn't that
That's
what
great,
China's
that's
doing, for
beautiful.
example?
It's creating
yeah.
That's
like
beautiful.
an
But
internal.
who's to say it's in the U.S. right now to buy from? That's not the case. It's not set up in the U.S. to buy from. They're still going to buy it from these other countries, but guess where? Who's going to pay for that? those other countries are now going to tag that tariff on to the price that we, the consumers, I mean, automatically from groceries to everything, we've seen this before, all of the everyday consumer products and prices have gone up for the U.S. people that are already suffering. So that's an ideal, beautiful scenario. I understand what you're saying. And that's, sorry to say, that's a simplistic view of it.
I made it simple as I can.
And that's the simplistic view that Americans who support it, that's what they understand of it.
You know
and that's how the ones that support it understand it.
Yeah.
No. And
Now,
also,
if you dive into it further to really, truly understand what happens when a tariff is implemented, is the United States prepared? Like, if it was that easy to switch it, and let's say in 3 years now, automatically the automotives could be purchased in the U.S., fantastic. If it was that easy to switch it where, fantastic, it's not, first of all. Second of all, we're already eating on the prices. Third of all, it's an ego that's involved, which, for example, like with China, he's saying, today, I am not backing down. If you're sick, you have to take some medicine. That's what's going to happen right now. Sure, you're not suffering. You have groceries. You have your bills paid. What about the people that were already barely being able to afford, living month to month? Today, right now, that are living month to month, okay, that don't have mommy and daddy to pay for their bills, that are out there that have to figure out how to put food on the table and pay. And so that is part of the issue, right? Now, in the UAE, it's not as big of a deal. It's 10%, because it's reciprocal.
That's
fine.
Reciprocal.
That's fine. But like, he's making some places suffer that
65 in China.
ridiculous.
65 in China. For
Ahmed
example.
said something very, very interesting.
Oh, what did he say?
Because we talked a little bit about it, and I really want him to dive deep into that. He said that the industrious people existed a long time ago in the USA. Like, in a way, the USA outsourced all the heavy lifting, all the industrious jobs to China.
Well, yeah.
Not only the US, like majority of the world.
Well, it's capitalism.
China is the factory of the world.
Correct.
It's capitalism,
Do you
basically.
think that culture can come back in the US? You said it's impossible.
It's impossible. Let's start off with this first of all. Trump is basically playing the victim over here, saying that America is a victim. How is America the victim when America has been one of the strongest and the largest service provider globally? 80% of American jobs are coming by providing service. US is not selling goods to the other world. It's selling service. 80%, which is huge. Only 10% of the jobs in the US are farm jobs. When I say farm jobs, that involves farmers, that involves entrepreneurs and freelancers, and of course the ones who are given their own free time. Okay, but 80% are service providers. Do you know what kind of service U.S. is providing to the whole globally, where they're literally making $30 trillion in a
military services?
No.
Yeah.
Software, they're selling software globally and software services. But you know what's the biggest chunk that US is literally draining everyone's pocket? Is the financial services, the banking service. That is the biggest service that it provides globally to the entire world. Wow. Okay? So in today's time, guys, you need to realize we are not an industrial economy, okay? We are a service economy. When people start getting richer and more educated, they don't purchase goods. They purchase services.
Yep.
The richer you get, you're more into services.
Also, the richer and the most intellectual, or the most you study and you learn about tech, you will tend to work in that field, not work in
the grunt
that's
work,
why
basically.
the world's largest jobs are provided in the service industry, not into manufacturing.
Production.
The reason Nixon, back in 1930, when they got hit, and the only reason they got hit with the Depression, which lasted almost 10 years, all the way up to 1940, was because of the introduction of the tariffs at that time. So when they failed miserably in 1440, they said, you know what? this is not our cup of tea. They started shutting down their manufacturers. Thousands of Americans started losing their job. Why? Because at that time, China was paying 50 cents an hour for their labor force. 50 cents an hour. So America said, wow, why don't we start setting up our manufacturers over there or start getting our stuff built over there and sold in America.
Cheap labor.
Cheap labor. There you go. Today, China is paying around $3.45 an hour, which is the minimum wage. America's minimum wage right now is $7.45 an hour. So do you honestly think if Trump decides to build his factories, as he claims, at 7.45 cents an hour, and if you're putting in skilled labor, 7.45 minimum wage is for the average American who has zero skills. That's the starting price. A skilled labor will not be charging. They will charge you twice as much. So if America starts manufacturing things, America is going broke right now. They have a national debt of 36 trillion US dollar.
Yeah.
The average American today is in so much debt that they're only able to save 3.5% of their income on a monthly basis. They don't have spending money, by the way. The average American, the recent stats shows that they don't have spending money. That's how drowned they are in credit card debts. America runs on credit card. The American people, unfortunately, sadly speaking, they run on credit card.
Yeah.
Everything is finance for them, okay? So do you think the average American, like Gigi is saying, not everybody is rich in America? The poor, the middle class, how are they going to provide to their family if they are barely making ends meet? We've already seen the inflation. It's already hit the US, okay? And with that said, it makes no sense where Trump is trying to say that we are going to start building manufacturers. Look at our newer generation. I have a 20-year-old son. Do you think I could picture my son working in a factory? Do you think that's the new generation is up to it?
Yeah,
up
but,
to that part?
but let's talk also about something in the US. The US attract a lot of immigrants that are willing to do these jobs.
The ones that are getting kicked out?
Yeah, but now he's kicking them out, but he can open again and they can come in. When he set up everything, they can come back.
No, I mean, what he's ideally trying to do is to make the Americans work. That's the thing,
right?
Not the immigrants.
Exactly.
But for him, Americans is anybody contributing to the internally contributing
Not
to the
necessarily.
US, right?
Waleed, what century are we in right now?
21st.
21st, correct? Nobody works in factories anymore. It's all robots right now.
True.
So who is he
that's the
providing
thing,
the
yeah.
jobs to? Those days are over. 60, 70 years ago, when our grandparents would roll up their sleeves
and work,
and work. Those days are over.
The coal mines and everything.
I was in the US 2 years ago. Gigi, you were there just recently. Tell me if I'm wrong. During our time, okay? Every 17-year-old, you would walk into a supermarket, gas station, restaurant. You would find the youngest would be a 17-year-old working with his sleeves rolled up, maybe pumping gas. I know I did.
McDonald's.
I started off with a pizza parlor.
Yeah.
I was rolling pizzas. Today, if you go to a supermarket, you go to restaurants, you will see 50-year-old, 60-year-old people working there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teenagers, people in their 20s, like I told you, they have their gadgets.
Yeah, e-commerce.
There you go.
Yes.
They work online.
People cannot survive on their social security. Senior citizens cannot survive on their social security. So they're forced to take over jobs. I was shocked to see the cashier lady at the supermarket, where I would expect someone at my age, at the age of 17, be on the cash register. The lady was 60 years old. This is where the generation is moving to, how the economy is moving to. So what is Trump even talking about? The specialists are saying, the experts are saying,
The economists,
we are going to lose miserably one more time. If we face what happened in 1930, God forbid, we've only seen a recession in our time frame, which is 2008. That was a recession.
That was like a tick.
That was a small wave,
compared to what happened in 27. Yeah.
Our generation and the previous generation has not witnessed a depression.
Yeah, we never witnessed a depression.
Exactly. Could you imagine we've witnessed a depression in
I mean,
hard
we hope
time.
not. Obviously,
we hope not. Of
we
course.
don't want this to happen.
Yeah,
It's
nobody
not like,
wants
we're,
the-
we're
Also,
Americans,
yeah.
and UAE is very tightly tied in, and obviously we're in the real estate business, which actually this might promote even more people, which it probably is, to come to
She was
Dubai.
like,
Have
It's good
you-
for us. Yeah, it's good for us. Let's keep it on the hush hush.
We're not a volatile
We don't want
economy
depression.
here. I mean, no. God forbid. I don't want anyone to suffer, obviously.
But Gigi, this question
Yes.
is I want you to answer it first. Now we have two scenarios.
Okay.
Either whatever Trump's trying to do,
It's gonna
will
work.
It will work,
Okay.
and it will affect the world in a way, or it will not work, and it will affect the world in
In
a
another
different
way.
way.
Okay.
Okay.
God forbid a depression.
God forbid.
Okay.
God forbid.
How do you think, and even you, Fakhro, because you're good in these things.
Okay, go.
How do you think, guys, this will affect this region? And I don't talk always about Dubai. I mean this region,
The whole
Gulf.
GCC and the
yeah,
Gulf.
yeah.
We'll start
The
with
Gulf.
Gigi, especially real estate.
Go.
What do you think is going to happen? Two scenarios.
I don't necessarily think that there's a huge effect in either scenario with this region specifically. First of all, they have a really great camaraderie and great relationship. The tariffs are only reciprocal at 10%. The United States doesn't import much from the UAE.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as that, I don't think that there's a huge effect. We do know, of course, like we discussed earlier, that the dollar is pegged, or the UAE dirham is pegged to the dollar. So if the dollar does lose its value, so does this, which makes it less expensive and more affordable for potentially people to get into the real estate market. So I guess in that situation, now it's more affordable to come in. Maybe developers will be more motivated to offer more sweeter deals or payment plans.
Flexible payment plans. Yeah.
Right? And we've already been seeing this, that there's an influx. It's not even, I'm going to answer your question, but I want to tell you, it's just even the uncertainty of it could go this way, it could go that way. And in fact, just that uncertainty
It's
in and of
beneficial.
itself has been beneficial.
Yeah.
And so we are seeing, because what? Dubai is not volatile. The UAE, Dubai, I'm going to specifically talk about Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai is not volatile, not with regards to social issues, not with regards to wars. We're very neutral here, not with regards to the economy, not regards with the people and how they feel about their government, and unrest and social unrest. And, there's this feeling in the United States before Trump even. I don't know how to explain this energy. Have you been to the US, by the way?
Never been.
Not
Have
yet.
you been?
Not yet.
I don't know how to explain this other than you'd have to be in both physically to feel it. There's this underlying current of dissatisfaction and unhappiness and stress, like it looks like it's about to explode. That has been a feeling for at least, I'd say, 8 years that I have felt. Unlike the refreshing feeling of coming here, and every human being I come in contact with, I ask them, how do you feel about the government here? How do you feel about Dubai? What brought you here? Do you want to stay here? And there's this gratitude and harmonious, peaceful, not stressful.
Yeah, you don't feel stressed. Yeah.
Because they feel that even though it's not a democracy, right?
Yeah, it's a monarchy.
And even though it's a Middle Eastern country, 85% expats from all over the world, including Canada, including the United States, including Europe, including UK, right? And India and Pakistan and Russia, etc. But there's this feeling of they have our backs. They're looking out for us. And in fact, if it's okay for me to correlate this, you told me a story outside that I found so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it was like when I talk about, we were talking about egos, that right now it's just a battle of
A battle of egos. Yeah.
You
But
know,
you were telling me
how this
something.
country it become a country. A bunch of great leaders, they sat down in what they call here a majlis, and they just planned what's gonna change the region, maybe the world.
Eventually. Yeah.
Eventually, it was just a normal. It's all done humbly,
humble.
And
I think it's within the culture though. Like
it's within the.
Do you think so? No, it's not. Do you think the GCC culture? Because obviously, with my family being from Iraq, it's definitely not Saddam Hussein culture.
You're talking about Al Badu, for example,
Okay.
and like how we used to live. Like
Okay, no, I
The
appreciate that
traditional,
distinction.
not culture, traditional.
Traditional.
Yeah, the
The traditional
sounds
Arabic
Okay.
tradition is different than when it comes to leadership. It's a different approach.
What do you
Talking about approaching leadership, I have to get this story
Yeah.
out. Here's another big difference in the United States and the UAE, okay?
Go.
Or Dubai. My husband came for the first time in November with me to visit. It was his first time ever. I was so excited. By the way, I only came here for the first time 2.5 years ago because my vision of Dubai and the Middle East has been controlled by the media. That's a controlled narrative in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
I had very many misconceptions. Even myself being a first generation Arab American, I had no interest to come here.
Fox News or CNN?
CNN, not Fox. CNN, now neither. TikTok.
TikTok's news.
Seriously, TikTok.
I have to ask though.
But it's going to be banned, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay. Reuters. So, when I first came here and all my misconceptions, whatever, were blown away. Within 24 hours, I said, oh my gosh, everything I grew up thinking about here is not what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what motivated me, by the way, to start this entire new career and create my podcast, The Dubai Connect, where really, even though it's real estate is my vehicle, that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's because I want Americans, Arab or not, to come and feel the way I feel when I'm here. The safety, the empowerment as a woman, the harmony, the diversity, the tolerance, the acceptance, the opportunity. I want them to feel that feeling. So I created the Dubai Connect podcast and real estate because that's a great way to get them over here, and it's working.
And it's a great podcast.
Thank you.
A great
Thank
podcast.
you. And I didn't say that to plug it, but what I want to tell you is this. Huge difference. I tell my husband, you got to come see it. He comes to visit. We're walking in the Atlantis Royal Hotel.
Yeah.
And I see.
Oh, the story. I forgot to say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Daniel, my husband. He goes, yeah, I said, and thank God I wasn't with him because he would have told me, don't do it, you embarrass me. He gets embarrassed by me. But my husband, Americanized mentality, he's like,
do
do it. Okay. So I said, Daniel, I said, that's the leader, that's his Highness, Sheikh Mohammed. And he said, no, it's not, babe. And I said, yes, it is. He said, come on, Gigi. The leader is going to be walking around with men with machine guns and militia. He's not just going to walk around like that. I said, that is him. We're going to follow him. Okay? So he's like, okay.
That's
I said,
crazy.
So we see him. He's going up the escalator. I don't know if I should tell this whole story because I don't want to get them in trouble, but they're going up the escalator.
I don't want to get caught.
No, it's
The
okay.
security guard at the end looked at me and he goes like this, like, don't come further. But I did anyways. And I walked up to him and I said, let me explain who I am. Please, please, please. I said, I'm a first generation Arab American. I have billboards saying invest in Dubai in the United States.
And he heard it.
No, he didn't hear it. And he looked at me with a smirk on his face. He said, I know, but I can't do anything. I said, no, please, I just want to show him. And he said, no.
That's one of his...
people, his security guard. So he goes, go to that one and ask him. He's the big boss. I go to the big boss. He says, no. I go back to the first one. I said, you're going to break my heart? You're going to really let me leave here after everything I'm doing to help Americans understand Dubai without meeting him? He goes, okay, go to the bottom. We're going to come down right now.
He planned it. I think he went and he asked him.
I'm sure. Because obviously, right?
That's the protocol.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So now I'm at the bottom of the escalator. First two other security guards come down. They check it out. They see me. I'm like, obviously there was communication. Obviously, they said, let this crazy woman talk to him, right? So he starts coming down now and everyone else is standing behind him. And I swear to you, as the American in me envisioned, I'm going to get arrested.
No.
But that's the American in me. Yeah. But I said to myself, okay, if that's the story,
let it be.
let's go.
Yeah.
If this is what I
that
get
was the
arrested
Arabic
for,
side.
That's the Palestinian side. 100% that was the Arab side. I'm like, that's it, who cares? If that's how I go, that's my story. This is a good story, okay? So he starts walking down, and I go, Daniel, turn your phone on. So he has his phone upside down, my husband, and he's recording, which is illegal here, right? Okay, so I approach him. I said, may I show you something, please? And he looks at me, and I could tell he was like,
no, if he could have recorded like this, nothing would happen.
He was kind of paranoid.
He was paranoid, but he did say to me, he saw the security guards look at his hand, and then he turned it upside down because he said, "Now I didn't want to make it look like I was sneaky," so they saw him.
No, because you were. If you see Jason Derulo or I don't know, like Akon, you would record him.
Yeah.
Because that law, just between brackets, that law, if you are recording a person,
not their permission.
Yeah, without their permission.
Correct.
But the ruler of Dubai
is
it's like a celebrity kind of
He
title.
did say, he said, once I saw them look at me and they could see it, I turned it upside down so that it doesn't look like I'm hiding anything.
Yeah.
We have the video, but it's very messed up. And it's only my
That's the video.
large
like,
behind.
"Ah!"
It was not an attractive shot, but it's
And
what
then
I
you,
have.
how was the encounter?
So I said, I want to show you something. So I had pulled up on my phone already a reel that I had with his voice where he says, because I'm fascinated by his story, and it's his voice that I have superimposed as a voiceover on the video of my billboards in San
Yeah,
Diego.
I've seen the video.
Okay? And it's his voice saying, I want this to be the greatest country in the world,
world,
etc. I said, Anna, so what you have, in America? Which my mom later goes, why didn't you speak to English to him? He's more educated than you are. I said, I don't know. So I was trying to, in my broken
Yeah.
Arabic, and he looks at me, he goes, هذا بالأمريكا? I said, well, Anna said what to her. You know, I did it.
Yeah.
And he patted me on the back,
Yeah.
and he went like this.
Yeah.
And tears started coming in my eyes. And security guards, 2 of them were laughing at me. I don't know if they were laughing at my Arabic or my
Both.
excitement, or because Ahmed said people don't, like, women don't walk up to the leader. Children do,
No,
but not necessarily like.
no, I've seen some. I've seen women going and thanking
Really?
him. Yeah,
Okay.
Emirati women.
No, it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's.
Why don't you? This guy always wants to say you're so
No,
American.
but there is protocol. There is protocol.
Okay.
But you didn't jump on him. You just went and you showed him something.
I jumped
She
a
almost
little bit.
jumped
a
on it,
little bit.
trust
Yeah,
me.
I mean, like.
So yeah, you see, you know the
I know
real
it
version.
very exactly.
He knows
I know
her
it
too
very
well.
well.
But this would have been very hard to happen in a different country.
What do you
Of
mean?
course.
It
Yeah.
would not
It would be
have happened in the
impossible, bro.
United States.
Imagine her doing that with Trump. They would have
There's
shot
no
her from a
way.
mile away.
So when I walk in New York,
Back up.
no, they would. You couldn't. It's not even. It's,
You don't even reach there, yeah.
There's no possibility
There's no way, there's no
whatsoever.
way.
So that's what I'm saying. Now, what
But
does
they
that
lately
tell
could-
you?
they could have shot
What does
him.
that tell you about a
Yeah.
society?
Yeah.
That you have a society here where they're not worried that somebody wants to come and
Yeah.
hurt him or attack
There
him.
is no hostility in the
Hostility.
there
That's
is-
the
yeah.
word I was looking for earlier, Waleed.
But to come back to the question, how it will affect, I mean, especially Ahmed, you're a person who is more into numbers. I mean, from a number standpoint, look, I don't want you to give me numbers, but like, how do you see it happening?
If it happens, if it doesn't happen.
Like in both scenarios,
if it works, if it doesn't work.
if it worst or best,
Okay.
like the best case scenario, it worked. The worst case scenario is the depression. So
You guys will agree with me so far. Every misfortune that has taken place in other countries has been a blessing for Dubai.
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay. So I'm a big believer of this. So whenever anyone who tries to be an expert and predict what could go wrong in Dubai, we all have been always proven wrong because the outcome has always been positive. Okay. That's one. If this goes against Trump, I personally feel, yes, his ego is trying to create a global recession, okay? Because he feels if US is going down, everyone should go down with
yeah.
us, okay? Which is why I feel he is imposing these tariffs because he did not assume that people would retaliate. These other country leaders
You
will
think?
retaliate.
Oh.
He, trust me, with his ego,
Yeah.
he knew that us being the world's superpower, people will bend over backwards. And that's not what happened. So they got him against his bluff. Look at China, what just did. China, South
China.
Korea, and Japan. Did you guys know that they all three have collaborated? They've
my
joined
God.
For the
hands
first time
together
ever.
for the first time
Ever.
ever to respond
Trump.
back. Exactly, to respond back to Trump. I don't know if they've given a deadline where they will come back and give their comeback. Yes, China has come back with 34% tariff on the US, but what these three are about to come and announce on media, we don't know yet. So this shows that it is clashing back. Okay, it has a ricochet effect.
Yeah.
All right, which Trump did not expect. All right. US owes 36 trillion US dollars in national debt, okay?
Yeah.
Recession has already hit US a year ago, but now they're feeling the pinch even more. The
Yeah.
numbers are all the numbers recent survey that Zillow did right now, which is one of the biggest platform for real estate over there. 78% of the properties that are listed. Well, before I go there, do you know how many properties are listed on Zillow right now for sale? 875,000 properties are on active listing for sale right now.
Is it an increase or a decrease?
It's increasing.
That's huge.
It's increasing.
That's huge,
So
yeah.
guess 75% of those sales are under distressed sales.
How sad.
Property owners are just looking for an opportunity
An
to
exit
get
strategy.
out.
Yeah.
And the recent survey number shows that there was a cutback of 34% in discounts for some of them who already exited out. So they sold their properties 34% below what they were expecting. Okay? So the numbers are not showing a good sign right now. So the problem is there is an excessive amount of inventory right now. 874,000 is no joke right now. That's a lot of excessive inventory right now. The problem is we're going back now again to the newer generation. The newer generation does not think that owning a home is either a privilege or a right. They have this mentality, I'm better off renting because I don't want to fall into that obligation of putting myself into that long-term debt, okay? Which is why the inventory is not moving. No one is buying because the newer generation wants to save money at the moment. And pay off their debts. They want to pay off their credit card bills right now.
College.
How about student loans?
Yeah,
For
student loans.
which
There's a lot
They're
of things.
not cancelled?
No, not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Yeah. So the majority of the Americans right now are in massive debt. So no one is picking up the inventory and the number keeps going higher by 6% year on year. So that is not a good sign. Now, would that affect Dubai? Once again, I always say and repeat that myself. We're not a mortgage-owned society in Dubai.
It's a different game.
The only reason U.S. is feeling the heat, property owners will feel the heat, is because
of mortgage?
They are all 99.9% of the properties in Dubai are in the U.S. are financed.
And do you think people in the US, if they come to Dubai, do you think they will be inclined to buy secondary market or off plan?
Off plan. And that
off plan.
it is happening. And by the way,
Lucky you, bro.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With Shoba.
Shoba. We've had Shoba come out
Oh, yeah, she
and do
told
some
me, yeah.
seminars in San
Shoba's
Diego
heavily
with me.
advertising and doing roadshows in the U.S.
Yeah.
But
We
here's
can
the thing, Waleed. Here's the thing. I was talking to Gigi about this. When Gigi came to Dubai 2 years ago, bringing this whole concept of we need to sell to the Americans, I need to bring Americans here in Dubai because God knows I tried and I just couldn't convince the Americans at that time that Dubai is the right place for you. Now, all of a sudden, I'm sure you're noticing that too. Now, all of a sudden, every brokerage firm, every agent is trying to focus on the Americans. First, it was the Indians. So every brokerage firm started hiring Indian agents.
Then
came the Iranians.
Iranians.
Every brokerage firm developer was hiring Iranians. Then came the Chinese. Every agent, brokerage firm hired Chinese-speaking people.
Then the Russians.
Then came the Russians. You started seeing Russians. Now I get to see American agents being imported to Dubai to come and work in their mortgage firms.
Gigi is one of them.
So
I've been doing.
No, you're an agency owner. Yeah. But you gotta bring Americans.
So now all of a sudden, everybody feels that we could bring the Americans on board.
Okay, guys. With that note, I'm happy that. Well, let's face it. Like in the end of the day, human nature. Yeah. I mean, if the world will crash and Dubai will go up. I'm sad for the world, happy for us.
No, I mean, like the best case scenario. I think the best case scenario, like if like Trump tariff actually worked, you guys are gonna buy Greenland and you're gonna
Gulf of America.
and the Gulf of America.
I don't want to even go there to
Canada's
Greenland
gonna become part of the United States.
I think that was a mistake to end it. What he did with the Danish people.
He agrees with something.
I don't know why he went to Greenland and he started like that was like colonialism.
It's a nice
that was I didn't want to talk about that because of
Well, the
politics.
best friends are colonials.
So thank you for watching the episode.
Thanks
It's gonna
a lot,
be a
guys.
part 2 because we didn't touch on all the points.
Agree.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure was all
Ahmed
ours.
and GG, you've been
GG.
checked. Done.
I love it. I've been checked.
Guys, let me just have her because
Oh my
we have
God.
Eden or
That was
Coke?
fun.